Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting. Today, we are grabbing a whole stack of sources. Wow, they really prove the world is moving
Mm.
way too fast for single-task thinking these days. The energy around compute, the cost collapse, hardware innovation, it's honestly staggering. We got to move fast just to keep up with today's feed.
It really is terminal velocity out there. So our mission today is rapid extraction. We've got 16 significant trending posts lined up. They cover everything, deep tech innovation, major market shifts, global affairs. We're going to pull out the most important insights, keep it concise, balanced, and really focus on what all these different facts tell you about what's coming next, like right now.
Okay, let's jump right in. Segment one,
Hmm.
the new knowledge frontier. We're talking about how AI isn't just, processing info. It seems like it's structurally redefining what knowledge even is. Starting with Egg God of Prompt, the post reads, China just built Wikipedia's replacement, and it exposes the fatal flaw in how we store all human knowledge. Most scientific knowledge compresses reasoning into conclusions. This radical compression creates what researchers call the dark.
Right, that dark matter of knowledge. That's the core concept here. It's basically all the reasoning, the steps in between, the derivation chains, all the stuff that gets, well, edited out of the final scientific papers or,
Yeah.
Wikipedia entries. Sciencepedia, this Chinese innovation, it tries to fix that omission.
So the dark matter is like all the footnotes and rough drafts and arguments we usually skip over, and Sciencepedia makes you show the work.
Exactly. They're using a verifiable long chain of thought, or LCOT derivation. So instead of just relying on like pure consensus, they built this Socratic agent. Pretty cool. If it generated 3 million questions. And then those were solved and cross-validated by multiple advanced LLMs. It shifts trust away from just authority towards derivational certainty. How you got the answer matters. It's a pretty fundamental change in how we validate scientific ideas.
Okay, yeah, that verification part makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Especially now, right? With so much easy information flooding everything. All right, shifting slightly but sticking with knowledge. Here's Eddie Malik on a kind of related crisis of meaning. He writes, I've been writing for years about the fact that we are not ready for the destruction of costly signaling mechanisms. Writing used to be a way of measuring effort, ability, and diligence. We still have no easy substitute.
Yeah, that idea of costly signaling is huge. Think about it. Before, if someone gave you this like super long, detailed professional review or a thesis, the effort involved, the sheer cost of human time and diligence, that was the signal. It showed value, credibility.
Right. But now, an LLM can just churn out text that looks incredibly polished, verbose. Looks like it took weeks of hard work, but nope, 2 minutes.
Exactly. AI just completely erodes the reliability of effort as a signal. And if you can't trust how costly the signal was, well, you need new ways to validate things, which interestingly ties right back to Sciencepedia, right? Needing that derivational trust, we basically have to redesign work that relied on showing effort.
And speaking of redesigning workflows and speed, that need for efficiency, it's being met by tools like Cursor. Check out at Eris Ikarias on Marveling here. 3 years ago, I could never have believed we'd gotten this far. Being able to generate 4 plans in parallel with different models, then selecting the best one or merging them and sending up to the cloud where this is coded automatically definitely feels like the future.
Yeah, this is Cursor 2.0's composer tool he's talking about. They've gone full multi-agent AI system now. So you're seeing parallel execution. What that means is they tell the system, okay, solve this problem, like say a database migration. And it runs that problem through 4 different high-end models, think GPT-4o, Claude 3.5, all at the same time.
Huh. But why 4 plans? If these models are already so good individually.
Robustness. It's all about robustness. By using these ensemble techniques, they can pick or even merge the best, most stable parts from each separate attempt. It speeds up the whole coding plan like crazy and, crucially, makes the final code way more robust than just relying on one single model. Less chance of weird hallucinations or brittle solutions.
Okay, that makes sense. But wow, this massive speed from Cursor's parallel plans.
Yeah.
It must need just colossal compute power, right? Which brings us perfectly into segment 2, the compute and cost arms race. Is that where we're seeing these almost ridiculous infrastructure commitments? Like this one from @ZeroHedge. They posted, at this rate, tomorrow morning we will get this headline. OpenAI signs deal with OpenAI to buy and sell $100 trillion worth of stuff to and from itself.
Yeah, it's pretty funny satire, but it perfectly captures the scale of this whole commitment campaign. It's poking fun at OpenAI's escalating push to lock down, $1 trillion in financing for resources, and specifically satirizing that recent news, the $38 billion 7-year cloud deal they just inked with Amazon. That deal is purely about securing access, getting those NVIDIA GPUs they absolutely need for their next-gen models. It's an arms race for compute.
But it seems like those huge escalating upfront costs,
Hmm.
maybe they won't matter for long. Because at Rohan Pillai dropped some numbers on price collapse that are just, they feel like sci-fi headlines. Listen to this. LLM token prices are collapsing fast, and the collapse is steepest at the top end. The least intelligent models get about 9x cheaper per year, and the most capable models fall about 900 better per year.
Whoa, yeah. That 900x collapse rate for the advanced models, that is the seismic shift. It's like Moore's law hitting the software side, but amplified.
Well,
And you get the Jevons paradox kicking in, too.
yeah.
As the cost of compute plummets, usage just explodes upwards.
Wait, okay, unpack that 900x collapse. For the average person using something like GPT-4o, what does that really mean? Are we talking free AI in a year? Or is it bigger, like for startups?
It means huge commercial phase transitions. Think about complex, high-volume AI stuff. Personalized education, super custom market analysis. A lot of that was just way too expensive before because of the per token cost, that 900x drop. Suddenly, AI startups that seemed impossible are totally viable. It enables this explosion of applications that's going to redefine whole industries.
Which might explain Anthropic's, well, stunning confidence. At Avor Success asks, how the heck is Anthropic able to do this? Anthropic is projecting twice the revenue from selling AI models to businesses this year compared to OpenAI.
Yeah, their internal forecast. They think they'll hit $70 billion in annual revenue by 2028. It's billion with a B. And right now, yeah, they're apparently doubling OpenAI's B2B revenue. The difference. Laser focus.
So is it really just that their models are better for enterprise stuff, or are they just smarter about avoiding the consumer-side money pits and constant updates that drain OpenAI's cash?
It's probably a mix. They're Claude models. They are genuinely well regarded for coding, long context stuff, things businesses really need. But yeah, their strategy too. Highly efficient multi-cloud compute, plus deliberately avoiding that high churn consumer market. It gives them a real operational edge, and that translates into those massive enterprise revenue projections.
All right, let's shift from the dollars and cents to the actual hardware, proprietary innovation. Because this compute arms race isn't only cloud contracts. Here's at Brian Rommel on Tesla's new in-house chip. The new Tesla AI5 chip in-house design 45 faster 8-peg compute 9-time memory, 10x cheaper per inference than NVIDIA. Production 2026.
Yeah, those are some brutal headline figures aimed right at the cost of running these models in the real world, like in a car or a robot. The key stat there. 10x cheaper per inference than NVIDIA. That's huge. Tesla isn't just chasing raw speed. They need extreme efficiency for their autonomy and robotics plans. And these chips, they're going to start production in 2026 using Samsung and TSMC tech built in Texas and Arizona.
Okay, so chips on Earth. But what if that's not fast enough? How about space? Sounds wild. At Ask Perplexity broke this news. Breaking. Google just announced AI data centers in space, powered by TPUs launching 2027 Project Suncatcher. Solar-powered satellites at 650-kilometer altitude running AI workloads directly from the sun.
Yep, Project Suncatcher. And it's all about tackling the fundamental energy bottleneck for AGI. They see it as an energy problem. Prototypes are actually scheduled to launch with Planet Labs in 2027.
Okay, but space data centers, is this actually viable economically? Or is it just Google throwing massive engineering muscle at like a big PR thing?
Well, the pitch relies on physics, basically. Up in low Earth orbit, you get way more solar energy, like 8 times more, no atmosphere blocking the sun. Combine that with vacuum cooling, no need for massive AC units. They think they could cut compute costs by maybe 40%. So the goal seems purely commercial and about scaling infrastructure.
Gotcha. And that idea gets reinforced by at UW, who kind of nailed the core motivation. Google, AGI is an energy problem. We're sending TPUs closer to the sun.
That's the whole thesis right there. They plan to use sun-synchronous orbits for constant year-round sunlight. Apparently, they've already done initial TPU radiation tests successfully. The main goal, get around the severe power limits that ground-based data centers face. Energy demand is just outstripping local grid capacity super fast down here.
Okay, moving swiftly into segment 3, market shifts and new products. Let's talk about maybe the biggest hardware shift happening back on Earth, Apple finally dipping into the budget market. And Mark Gurman posted, New W. Apple is preparing to enter the low-cost laptop market for the first time, developing a budget Mac aimed at luring away customers from Chromebooks and entry-level Windows PCs. details on the plan here.
Yeah, this is a huge strategic shift for Apple. We're talking a Mac under $1,000. Internally, it's codenamed J700, and it'll probably use a chip derived from the iPhone architecture. Super efficient. You got to remember, Apple only has about, 9% global market share in education and casual use. That's where Chromebooks rule.
So this isn't just about a cheaper laptop. This is Apple aiming at super efficient chip tech. The same stuff powering an iPhone, right at that high-volume, kind of disposable market dominated by simple Chromebooks.
Exactly. They're leveraging their chip efficiency, their manufacturing scale, trying to grab a market segment they've pretty much ignored historically. They probably realize that getting users long-term often starts with that first cheap computer someone gets in school.
Okay, now for a product update on the creative side. Shifting from hardware to AI generation. And Victor Mostar shared this. New. QuenImage 2509 multiple angles. Very solid model, and probably a lot of creative use cases to find with it.
Right. This is a really interesting fine-tune of Alibaba's Qwen image edit model. The reason people are calling it very solid is its ability to generate consistent views from multiple angles, all from just one single input image.
Why is consistency such a big deal in image generation?
Well, think about any complex workflow, like 3D visualization, character modeling, animation, even just commercial product shots. You absolutely need the model to keep the texture, the color, the style, all the details consistent as the perspective changes. This model seems to provide that high level of structural consistency needed for those more professional, repeatable uses.
Interesting. And that shift from digital tools to, physical community building is also happening. AI tools creating real-world scenes. At Binban posted a list of cities wanting their events. Cities with most demand for Cafe Cursor. Amsterdam, Sao Paulo, Seattle, LA. Stay tuned.
Yeah, that list, it includes major tech hubs like Seattle, but also emerging scenes like Delhi and Seoul. It tracks demand for their Cafe Cursor events. These are basically pop-up events where users of the Cursor AI code editor get together, they take over a cafe, collaborate, network. It just highlights how fast the community around these advanced AI developer tools is growing internationally and how sticky it is. People want to connect.
And finally, a quick private market number from @JohnCoogan, just reminding us of validation. Stripe has added $70 in market cap since this post-BTW.
Right, he's referring to Stripe's valuation surge. That $70 billion jump happened between May 2020 and late 2025. Pushed their valuation past $106 billion now. It really validates that super optimistic long-term growth path that Patrick Collison, the co-founder, talked about. Shows Stripe's core strength in digital finance, even with, headwinds in the broader fintech market.
Okay, let's close out with segment 4, economics and policy watch, where the big macro shifts hit everyone. Let's look at potential healthcare disruption. This shared by @Krimirekyu. Here we go. The White House is close to $149 a month GLP-1 coverage. We're on the verge of crushing healthcare costs and eliminating obesity and chronic disease.
Okay, so this policy, it's a potential deal capping the lowest dose GLP-1 drugs, think Wegovy, Zepbound, at $149 a month for Medicare folks. That could potentially expand access for 65 million people.
And the potential savings are just wild, right? Directly targeting that estimated $173 billion annually in obesity-related medical costs. But, okay, the savings potential is massive, sure. But does this policy talk acknowledge the strain on, say, pharma incentives? Or potential long-term side effect costs that might eat into those savings?
Well, the policy is really seen as a strategic leverage point. The thinking is if you socialize access to these drugs, which are proven effective for significant weight loss, you'll drastically cut spending on secondary issues like diabetes, heart disease, etc. The whole long-term R&D cost debate, that seems secondary right now to the immediate goal of bending the massive cost curve for chronic disease management.
Massive potential savings there. Sharply contrasted with this finding on housing affordability from @Unusual Wales. This suggests other costs are just stuck. Not even a 0% interest rate would make a typical home affordable in New York, Los Angeles, Miami, San Francisco, San Diego, or San Jose, per Zillow.
Yeah, that Zillow analysis from July 2025, it's a pretty shocking indicator of how structural the crisis is in those big coastal markets. It's not really about monetary policy anymore, is it? The fixed costs alone, property taxes, insurance, basic maintenance, they already eat up more than 10% of the median household income in those cities.
So basically, the cost of just owning the place, before you even pay a cent of mortgage interest, is already too high. Borrowing money for free wouldn't even make it work. Interest rates are almost beside the point.
Exactly. It just highlights that the affordability crisis in major U.S. metros has totally decoupled from the usual economic levers we think about.
Wild. Okay, finally, let's wrap on corporate governance. at Tesla confirmed a big shareholder decision about Elon Musk's compensation. Like us, Counterpoint Global, a shareholder who invests for the long term, believes it's in our shareholders' best interest if Elon has significant skin in the game. They're voting FOR, our proposed performance-based incentive plan for Elon.
Right. That's Morgan Stanley's Counterpoint Global. They're a major long-term shareholder, and they're backing Musk's new pay structure. The key thing here is that it successfully mirrors that really rigorous performance-based plan from 2018. It ties his compensation directly to hitting very specific, tough milestones in market cap and revenue. So shareholders are basically voting for a model that worked before, one that previously drove pretty explosive growth. They want that again.
Wow, what a sweep of the feed today. We went from TPUs in space and Sciencepedia, all the way to fixed housing costs, killing affordability, and AI messing with costly signaling.
It really highlights the work you, the listener, have to do connecting these dots, right? These disparate threads that are changing so fast, the infrastructure build out, the collapse in compute costs, the policy reactions. It's all moving at, well, like we said, terminal velocity.
It is pretty jarring when you put it all together, isn't it? Maybe the real deep dive today is realizing that while AI inference cost collapses, 900x, making knowledge and automation practically free, the basic fixed costs of just living, housing, healthcare, they stay stubbornly high, or even rise. Makes you wonder, will AI's incredible efficiency eventually be forced to tackle and maybe even fix our own rising structural inefficiency? Something to chew on. We'll catch you tomorrow with a fresh stack of sources. Stay sharp.